Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, we tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
I'll ride with the horses, I'll swim through the sea, I'll climb to the mountain tops, won't you come follow me? I'll take time to notice all that I see, and after I've come so far, you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. But life is a vision, that's how it should be. The world is a canvas, and the choices are free. At the end of the journey, where all is complete, they'll all wonder where I've gone, but you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. Our dreams last forever, for all that we know. The roads come together, and that's where we'll go.
The pompous
and elite wish we go away.
because we are
Real and direct.
no interest owns us.
And we have no interest but
The truth. Together we are exposing.
corruption.
Together we will reform criminal justice
Together.
We are fighting violence
against women and children.
We here at
Kandit
will shine the light
on every corner of darkness.
Together, we are giving a voice
To the voiceless.
and forgotten.
Stay lit.
Together.
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 Together. We are giving a voice to the voiceless and forgotten.
We are Kandit News Group.
Buenas Marianas in Micronesia. I have missed you so much. I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
And I'm Nola Hix.
Buenas, girl. Welcome back to Guam. How was the quarantine?
I survived.
You survived?
I survived.
What were the conditions of the quarantine?
Well, I had to do a 14-day mandatory stay at home. So it was a bit much, but, you know.
No, you're not hotel quarantine?
No, resident.
Oh.
I'm a resident, so everything worked out.
Okay, all right. Well, we're glad to have you back. Nola Hix. Nola Hix
Yes.
is the chairwoman of the CNMI Democratic Party, and she is also our guest host tonight. It is less than 5 months till Christmas, ladies and lates.
Mm-hmm.
No one seems excited about that.
I'm not.
No one seems so.
I mean, Jesus' birth, of course, you know, but what 2020 double S super sucks.
So what if
Okay.
what if like the day after December 31, 2020 is simply January 1, 2020
2020A?
Yeah. 2020
A, I'm having a baby, January 2021.
All right, January
That's
28th,
the plan.
baby.
That's
What?
the plan.
January 28?
No,
I'm just
2021.
I was say 8.
January
You
20?
guys share something.
16, they said.
What if you
16.
give birth on her birthday?
You
That'd
just
be so
never know.
awesome.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just never know.
But you're Aquarius though, right? And
I'm an Aquarius.
If the 16th it would be
A Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a Cancer.
I don't really know what those mean.
Neither do I.
Yeah, never mind.
All I know is that of all the horoscopes, Cancer is the one that goes something like this. Today your life will be miserable. Everyone will take a crap on you, and there is no upward mobility at all, and you will cry. That's out of all the horoscopes, that's what Cancer says, and then everyone else is like, flowers will bloom in your life today, and you'll be able to see the moon for what it is.
Yeah, and go out and stare at the moon tonight, guys.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, welcome back. It's been quite a while since we had an on-set live. I think it was last week.
I don't remember.
We weren't actually here when we did the live cast of the legislature this morning, of the CNMI legislature. We will get to that in just a bit. But first, we are launching a new segment called Chalaquiles, Coffee and Change. Yes, Chalaquiles, Coffee and Change. Go ahead, look at that. What's going to happen,
Nice
Nye?
graphic. There, work there,
thanks.
cello.
So this is Kandit's version of Meet the Candidates, and what we're going to present to you. We are going to ask some of the incumbent senators to come on our show, and it will only be policy driven. But as far as the election goes and getting to know candidates, what Kandit wants to do is to bring you the new candidates, so that we can be better acquainted with them, so that they will have the sort of name recognition and on-air time that really the voters deserve to have with them. Because if you don't have a lot of money, and normally the good people, the ones who don't take money from the big corporate donors and who are not prone to corruption, are the ones who don't have the money to advertise. And whatever with the other media stations, but a lot of what's driven during election season is for them to make money off of these candidates. And unfortunately, that means the only people who you're going to see are those with the money
Right.
to do so. And of course, we're taking advertise with Kandit, put for what. So this is our Meet the Candidates segment, this Chalaquiles, Coffee and Change. What we're going to do is provide each of our guests with a nice hot cup of Chalaquiles from Circle K. If they're vegetarian, because I know Sandra Rages is vegetarian, we're going to get her the arroskadu or the corn soup.
No, I think they still add meat in the iris.
Don't tell her. Just don't tell her.
No, don't do that.
do
to
that?
her. She's gonna have a stomach ache by the time she leaves here. Anyways, no. We
And
also,
coffee.
if anybody knows Troy, and Troy knows how to get down to the nitty gritty. So I am very excited about the new candidates. I want to know. We all want to know what they're about, what their beliefs are, who are they connected to. We're gonna have a whole range of questions, and as you know, here on Candid, we're not afraid to ask those questions.
So starting this week, I believe it's Wednesday morning, we're going to have Jigo Democratic mayoral candidate Dennis Flores on our show. He's going to be our first Chalaquiles coffee and change.
There are a few people running in Jigo.
There's 6.
There's a lot.
6 people running for mayor.
5 under the Democratic banner to replace a Republican incumbent who is not running.
No.
And then this is not confirmed yet with their campaign, but tentatively on Thursday night, we're going to have Democratic senatorial candidate Frank Leon Guerrero, the former marshal over at District Court.
Nice.
And Sunday, we're going to have...
Friday, we're also having Dominic Hernandez.
Is it morning or night?
Morning.
Morning, right? Friday morning, Republican senatorial candidate Dominic Hernandez. Sunday night, we're going to have the chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Guam, Sarah Thomas Nederdog. And I just haven't reached out yet to Tony Ada, but, you know, it's equal time for those two because they're the heads of the two, whatever, right? And Tony Ada also is a senatorial candidate, but more from the perspective of the party with that one.
Yeah. Okay, because those two aren't running, or no, Tony Ada is running.
He's running for senator.
Okay, but he's still the top of the Republican Party. What's the job title? What does that do? Who are they to the party, and what's their purpose?
So basically, you know, the chairs of the party, they're basically the heads of the party. They organize with their officers, the vice chair, the secretary, the treasurer. They kind of keep things in line. Right now, I'm all over the place. Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. I have a lot of roles, and a lot of it is because I'm not a micromanager, but it's like one throat to choke. I'd rather do the work myself than depend on other people to do it. But yeah, it's you know, it's campaign season, so we are in charge of lining up the candidates, making sure.
So let's say because I'm a citizen, right, and I have an issue or a problem with maybe one of your candidates. This is just for sake. Okay. Do I contact you because you're the head of the? Does that connect? Does that have anything to do with, like, let's say I have an issue
with one of the candidates?
Yes.
We actually have a candidate liaison, so you'd probably connect with the candidate liaison.
I don't know if Guam has that.
Like I said, I don't micromanage, and I try not to intervene with a lot of the stuff that the candidate recruitment / liaison is in charge of. So before stuff goes to me, it's kind of the protocol is to work with him. So yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot going on.
I'm just wondering, you know, like what does that entail?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but
I'm pretty sure she has. But
the Democratic Party, the CNMI, is almost like the Republican Party on Guam. No, I'm not talking about ideals or anything like that. I'm just talking about in terms of.
I've heard that. You've said that a few times.
The sort of underdog position that they've had. Historically. So the Democrats at the CNMI are like the Republicans of Guam, and the Democrats of Guam are like the Republicans of the CNMI. And in many ways, that also correlates mathematically to a link in corruption. But when we have Sarah Thomas Nederdog on our show, you know, and she's agreed to take on the tough questions. I have to admire and respect her for that. One of the things that will be more difficult for her to talk about, and this is less difficult for you to talk about, is that she's got this Democratic organization on Guam that's large. There's a sitting governor who's a Democrat. The legislature is Democratic, but there are these major cracks in the Democratic Party. Major factions, and it's election season now. It's in full swing, and it's getting very ugly.
And our congressman is a Democrat too.
Our congressman is a Democrat.
And everybody doesn't. It's
I know. I've seen it. I know.
Have you noticed that it seems like there is a faction in the Democratic Party of Guam that, I mean, it's sort of no holds barred. They do not want Mike Nicholas to succeed.
Well, the thing about just, you know, any party in general is personalities. I'm basically dealing with tons of personalities, you know, whether it's negative or positive, everybody has something to say. Everybody, you know, wants to be heard. Everybody wants recognition. So, you know, that's kind of the responsibility, right? As a party, or as a party and as a chairwoman, we're supposed to set these standards for our candidates, you know, to be reputable, for the party to be reputable. Because once those cracks happen, then it's all chaos. And, you know, I've been warned because, like I said, the Democratic Party and the CNMI, you know, has been, you know, dead for decades. They have, you know, it's been, 30 years? So, you know, right now we're at an advantage where we don't have these problems because we're just now coming up and we're rising to
Almost
the occasion.
like brand new.
Yeah, we're basically rebranding ourselves to be, you know, the fighters, and we have a lot of the fighters on our team. But I can honestly say that I'm not going to say that, you know, we're not going to have these problems. There are going to be issues where there's too many people running, where there's too many personalities. They're not all going to be able to get along, but as long as we set those standards of what our expectations are, I think everything will definitely fall into place.
Well, we're gonna go over a story that's a prime example of how, you know, it's sort of gotten to an extreme here on Guam. But before that, Glenn Hunter gives you 3 big hearts.
Oh, I love you, Glenn.
Ito Pangi McCord says, Nola is so pretty and so smart. She brings pride to women of the island.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Denise Legaspi says of the Jigo election, the Lazamas passed my neighborhood already. I shocked them with my questions of what are they going to do for the people. You know, if you're running for office, you better have that elevator speech ready about why, when people ask why you're, I've seen some candidates like deer in the headlights.
Wow.
I'm like, that is actually the very first, like, the reason you should have ran was because you had that in mind already. Like, what are you going to do?
You just never know. You just, and some people kind of just choke up, right? It's a spur of the moment. It's kind of like it just happens right there. And everything that you've been studying or practicing, even, and you don't have your cheat sheets, it's like, you know, so it's going to take some time, and, you know, not everybody's perfect. It's going to take a lot of practice, a lot of engagement, a lot of public speaking to kind of get there. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But I can see myself, or I can see the party having these issues in the future. I just think that right now, you know, my goal as the chairwoman is to make sure that we set these standards, because we don't want to have any of those issues, whether it's primaries or just, you know, whatever, allowances, you know, leased vehicles, you know, cell phones. We want to make sure that everybody is on the same page on what their expectations are as legislators serving the people.
This is what's going on. This might sound familiar if you've been following news in the CNMI. This story will sound familiar to you because this is what's happening on Guam with the financials. So the government of the CNMI is facing a major deficit. It's been deficit after deficit after deficit over the past 3 years, I believe it is. Now it's at a stage where it's nearly unmanageable, and it's led to, of course, furloughs and all that stuff, right? Recently, I think released today, the June financials, what they call it, the Consolidated Revenue and Expenditure Report, that is showing. Actually, this is not released today. Sorry, this was released recently though. That for the year-to-date calculations, the general fund has collected $47.9 million less than it did at the same point last year. So there seems to be a deficit that is tracking, a very large deficit, and this comes on the heels of a request by Governor Lulian Guerrero to Congressman Mike Nicholson. It wasn't so much of a request as it came across as a media stunt, because it was done by press release and not by any official communication, not by any previous communication with the congressman, and it blew up in the governor's face. So this is what the governor says. She just released this today. She says, Governor to Congressman, help Guam deliver on EITC. The news release says, concerned Guam's fight for earned income tax credit will fall to the wayside in Congress. Governor Lulian Guerrero is urging Congressman St. Nicholas to stay focused on the pursuit of funding EITC for Guam. She has requested an update on the status of this issue by August 3, 2020. So first, you know, she flops it on the table and says, and acts like she's Mike St. Nicholas's boss, right? And then she talks about how EITC is a big burden on the government of Guam because it's a federal mandate. This is the EITC is that thing that you apply for if you don't make a lot of money in any given tax year, and probably you have a lot of kids or dependents otherwise, right?
Even just 2 will give you a lot back.
You're going to qualify for a big tax refund. So what happens is that Gov Guam ends up paying almost 50% of tax refunds that are paid out every year is in the form of EITC. And it's a federal mandate, and the federal government does not reimburse Guam for it. It's been a very big problem since Antisquantis, as a matter of fact, since 1995, when former Governor Carl Gutierrez said, look, if the feds are not going to pay this, we're going to stop paying it to our people. So then in 1996, former Senator Felix Camacho introduced legislation. He was a very young senator at the time, but he wasn't a freshman. Who was a freshman was the new chairwoman of the Committee on Health. Her name was Senator Lulian Guerrero. And Senator Felix,
You see what he's doing?
And I guess memory banks throughout Adelup are just a little short on on issues like this. So Senator Felix Camacho introduced a legislation that passed over the objections of the governor, meaning they overrode the governor's veto. What it does is it says that the EITC is a local liability of the government of Guam. So from that point forward, the government of Guam, the legislature told the governor pay it, but Governor Gutierrez didn't pay it. He defied the legislature. And then there was a federal court case in 2007 that was handed down. Then, and at the time, Governor Felix Camacho was left with the bill from the previous administration to pay up all of these, earning income, whatever, right? But the point of this discussion is that one of the people who voted for both the passage of the bill and the override of the governor's objections was then Senator Lulian Guerrero. And so the governor now is saying, this is a burden on our general fund. And so Congressman, this could be relieved. And if you look at the amount that the Consolidated Revenue and Expenditure Report is showing, it's just about the amount that we would get that a reimbursement of the EITC would make up.
So the feds are doing their part. They're paying into their end of the
No. Well, Congressman Nicholas is doing his part, but I guess when he was doing his part and it was in the news, no one was paying attention. And I question this because there's a whole Washington liaison being paid by the governor's office,
Madeline Berdalio.
And so I'm wondering
she announced last week, this is my go-to person in Washington. She's close to her, and that's who I go to. So she writes a letter to the congressman demanding these things be done.
And he actually did it.
He did it a month ago.
He did it twice this year, as a matter of fact. On February 8th, the congressman had a provision. It's a groundbreaking provision in H.R. 5687. It was the Puerto Rico Disaster Relief Bill.
Okay.
Included in that was an amendment from Mike Nicholas that would reimburse Guam 75% of the EITC. It's extraordinary. It's worth between $40 and $50 million annually, right? Basically, it would get rid of the structural imbalance in the general fund. It would be a boon for our bond ratings and all this stuff, right? And then coronavirus hits. And so every bill in the House and in the Senate, its heartbeat stopped at that point, right? And so then CARES Act comes and they dispense with that. Then HEROES Act comes. HEROES Act is CARES Act Part 2. And Mike Nicholas included that original amendment on February 8 into a May 14 passage of the HEROES Act with the same 75%. So he got a bite at the apple twice. It was in the news twice. It was reported twice, and the governor, I guess, didn't see it. And so she sent out this scathing news release. And this is just part and parcel to the infighting within the Democratic
so
Party.
That's my question. I guess I'm still very new to Guam politics. I'm very much vested in Saipan, or in the CNMI in general. So on just your opinion, how would the Democratic Party of Guam bridge that gap where, with the infighting, because you've seen it and you talk about it a lot. You talk about the infighting between Mike Nicholas and the governor and the senators and their infighting. So what would be your suggestion to the problem?
I think, first we have to figure out what the problem is, because Mike Nicholas is doing a really good job. You would think that the Democratic Party would want to celebrate that here. The only thing that I can surmise is that it's just they're jealous of him. I cannot think of any other reason that they would be.
There's no other reason.
They just can't, right?
It doesn't make sense.
And so if the problem is that they're just jealous of him, then the solution is maybe therapy or something. I don't know.
That's a question for Sarah. That's a question for Sarah.
It is a question for Sarah. Very well played there.
Yeah.
But let me show you guys, and I haven't even shown this to you. This is actually really bad. This is how ugly politics is getting on Guam. Let's see. Bunker is the Democratic candidate for senator.
Bunker, I tried calling you today. I'll call you tomorrow.
He says, yes, I'm one of those who freeze in the moment. One-on-one, not a problem. I am working on my troubles and my delivery when I will be speaking to lots of people. Phew. Sandra says, when is your interview? Did we schedule
Monday.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
already. Well, she's talking to Bunker. I tried to call Bunker today for his interview, so I'll call you tomorrow, Bunker. Bunker is such a great man, great heart. He'll be a fighter for the people.
What's Bunker's last name?
His name is Franklin Meno.
Okay.
Jose
AKA
Martinez,
Bunker.
Jose Martinez has a theory. He says because Mike St. Nicholas did not lockstep with signing a unity document. That was years ago.
2 years ago. Or no. Yeah,
That was
2018.
2018. I
Yeah,
remember.
he refused
I
to
read
sign
about
that,
that.
that unity pledge, and the Democrats went bonkers against him. But
Do we know why?
It started before
Do we know
that.
why he didn't sign it though? I was very curious to know why.
Because he didn't want to be.
He wanted to make decisions for the people and not just because they all. It was really. I think it happened before that.
Well, I've never seen the pledge, but I'm assuming if there was a disagreement, that it could have been edited, right? Or at least I'm going to assume that it could have been.
Can you cast? This is how ugly politics is getting on Guam. Can you cast to my screen? Look at this pretty girl, Destiny Diaz. She is what you would allege to be a resident of Guam, someone very involved in the political process here. It says she's from Barragata. This is her Facebook page. She looks like a pretty moral girl, right? Now, Destiny Diaz, over the past few days, has been involved in what is normally called trolling in politics. And I want to say this about someone like Robert Hunter or Clyde Narita.
Okay.
I don't agree with almost everything that they say, but what I can respect about them is that they'll come after you
With their name.
Using their name. They won't come after you in the dark
Fake
of the
alias,
night, and they'll come at you with their fist or their knife straight to your face. You know what I'm saying? So I can respect that about them. But then there are in Guam, and I don't know what it's like getting the CNMI, but in Guam, this is getting bad. This ugliness in politics is getting bad because Destiny Diaz, so-called, is not the only one who is doing stuff like this. But let's take a look at what Destiny says. This is in a PNC post about Robert Underwood saying, former congressman, Democrat, running against Mike St. Nicholas in the Democratic primary. So Destiny Diaz says that Robert Underwood will be the next congressman. Wait and see how respected political powerhouses garner support so quickly your head will spin. Are you ready? Okay, that's not negative or anything. Then Destiny starts to get a little negative.
Uh-oh.
You can research, Google, Guam PDN, Michael St. Nicholas Congressional Report Card. This report card is generated. So this is, standard sort of trolling, right? And this will normally spin off into something that gets very personal. The use of these trolls is so that they can make these basically slander or libel these politicians with false allegations and all this stuff. So actually, Johnny responded to Destiny or said something, and Destiny responded to Johnny. And Destiny says, right now, the FBI is interviewing MSN staff as they probe further into charges against MSN himself. Underwood has no charges against him. So the difference is only one candidate is in deep hot water, and it's not Underwood. So you can see it's getting pretty bad, right?
I can't throw Destiny in the same category as Robert Hunter and Clyde, though. And although you say you respect them for using their names, my problem is that their names come with titles. They're cabinet members. They should not be trolling innocent people that are speaking their minds and calling out the administration. I mean, I get it. at some point in time they're gonna want, Robert's gonna want to post facts or whatever his dream reality is. But at the same time,
the charts,
the charts, the zero deficit charts.
The zero deficit charts.
But these are cabinet members. They're held to a different standard. So when I see stuff like that online, it's just something that I can't respect, regardless.
Word.
Word.
We'll
so never.
I completely get that, but would Robert Hunter or Clyde Narita go back to my screen, Cello? Would they troll using the memory of a dead girl? A 16-year-old TikTok star.
Oh, wow.
Who committed suicide because of trolling? This girl's real name is Sia Kekhar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. She's an Indian. She was an Indian sort of celebrity, social media celebrity. And I'm telling you, this is how ugly politics is getting on this island. Wow. Let me go. I did a quick Google search on her. These are her images. She's a beautiful young woman. She committed suicide at the age of 16.
That's horrible.
And that's the picture they're using for their profile.
For this so-called Destiny Diaz.
That is just horrible.
Yeah, so, and I was telling Johnny earlier today, I was like, Cello, mark my word, this election has already gotten dirty. This is probably going to be the dirtiest election. And it's just a congressional election. It's not gubernatorial.
Yeah.
But I can feel it, like I can just, and it depresses me. Like I have a very hard time with this. I hate elections. Hate it. I love election day. Election day is fine because that's when people get to speak. But in the days prior to the election, there are these evil forces at play, and evil gets into good people's souls, and it just causes such destruction for so many people. And it's, I don't know.
Well, that's the conversation on Tinian and Rhoda. That's how deep politics is on Tinian and Rhoda.
Well, let's talk about politics.
It's boiling. It's like boiling crab.
Let's talk about it.
Well,
let's talk about the boiling crab.
Let's talk about Rhoda.
Okay.
So the trip to Rhoda was great. For me, I feel like culture in the Marianas begins and ends in Rhoda, because there is so much culture there. The culture is just so well preserved. The people, the language, the food, the hospitality. People there are just, they're the most resilient. When I think of the Marianas, I think of these resilient people from Rhoda. And, I kind of felt bad because all of the things that I complain about, all the things that I don't have, and everything that we talk about with regards to gas or just things being expensive, Rhoda gets the short end of the stick because everything is so expensive in Rhoda. From a 20-pound bag of rice is $50.
Whoa, are you serious?
I am serious.
Wow.
20-pound bag of rice is $50. Whole chicken $2.99 a pound. A bag of chips is $6.
Wow.
I remember Tina Sablon and I had gone to the store to buy a case of soda. It was like $34. So everything is expensive in Rhoda.
Is that the added shipping cost?
It's just that's just it, right? There's no there's no United Cape Air. They're not flying within Rhoda anymore. It's just Star Marianas. The port the port is just inoperable. So they don't have a port. And so for me to be able to go to Rhoda and to listen to it was nice for me to just go there, to just have an open mind about everything happening on Rhoda, but just to sit down and listen with the people on just how their lives are in Rhoda. And similar to Tinian, because there are no economic opportunities, everybody works for the government. Everybody works for the government. So politics is a political sport on Tinian and Rhoda. If you think it's bad on Guam or Saipan, it's their livelihood. So
you can't upset the wrong person.
It's not necessarily that you can't upset the wrong person. Everybody is connected. And everybody works for, I would say more than 75% of the population works for the government. So this is their livelihood. Okay. So my whole thing was going over there and listening to the issues, I felt bad because I said, who fights for Rhoda? And that's a photo of, Norbert Mundo, who is our chairman, Donald Menglonia, Senator Paul, Tina was there with us. So, Senator Paul and Donald are our candidates for Rhoda. We're very excited. We love Senator Paul. He's a fighter. He's
We just ran a
literally
story on him.
Yeah, he is literally the only one fighting in the Senate. So I gotta give the guy so much credit, and I call him, Nino. I call him Nino because, in Rhoda, he was just genuine. It was just nice to sit down with somebody who's so genuine and just so passionate about the people on Rhoda, and just...
Is Senator Magnolia running as a...
He's gonna run. He's up for re-election,
Okay.
so he's running for senator again
against
Dennis Mendiola, who is very much related to Victor Holcook, who I can ask, where's the 400,000? We're still waiting for this 400,000 from this MV Luta deal. Don't get me started with that. So my whole thing is that, and when I speak about Rhoda, I ask the candidates, that are running under the Republican Party, what is it that you stand for? Why is it that, it's vote for me because I'm your family, or vote for me because I'm your party? Where's the substance behind that? And that's just it, right? We are building a party with substance. We want to make sure that we have solutions, but it's proven leadership as well, because Senator Paul is literally fighting for the people of Rhoda. So my whole thing is...
He's a very good writer, too.
Oh, he's very articulate,
Yeah.
very respectful. And there's a lot to be said about that, because the thing is that the people on Rhoda have been subjected to so much abuse for so long that it's not just a pattern, it's culture. It's basically, it's engraved in
And you're
the
not
culture.
talking about a Chamorro culture or Carolinian culture. You're talking about a political culture.
It's a political culture where it's, vote for me because I'm your family, vote for me. And the sad part about it, and this is the difference between Tinian and Rhoda, is that the retaliation is so bad, especially on Tinian. Our candidates on Tinian, we'll talk about Tinian in a bit, but before we cover that, let's talk about the boiling crab, because...
Let's talk about but first, did you bring us back any purple taro from Rhoda?
You know what? It's not the season. I literally tried to get taro and sweet potato, and there's just none.
I think you're just making excuses right now.
My mom said, do not leave Rhoda without my sack of sweet potato. And none of us could get sweet potato. Like, literally, there was none to be found.
Before we talk about the coconut crab saga, Glenn Hunter says, Senator Magnolia has always called things like he sees them. Buenas, Pam Duval. And Bunker says, Tinian is the real deal during election. They can turn on each other. Then when it's all over, like nothing happens. That's life. Tinian is where Senator Jude Hofschneider was elected from, right?
That's the guy we chased down at the
At the
airport,
airport.
right?
I remember that.
He did not and still
remember.
refuses to answer our questions.
Yeah. He
that's
said,
true.
hey, come to Saipan.
Yeah.
I said, ooh.
And then,
Joy, something's going to happen to us there.
and then,
We were not going
and then
there.
something weird happened. Did we ever tell you about this?
No, what happened?
He got into a car, right? Or like...
No, the lady came up to hug him, and I guess she got it, U-turned, and went the other way.
Because
They
you
were
said
supposed to
Chatman.
go
You
together.
said Chatman. I heard you. You're like, oh, maybe that's his Chatman. You're so bad.
So it was so weird.
starting
I felt so awkward. Anyway, coconut crabs.
So the Azuzu.
No one in Rhoda has a freezer? What is that?
It was hilarious because my phone was blowing up, over the weekend because they're like, did you see this post? Did you see this post?
The tourist administration must believe that the people of Rhoda still wear grass skirts. They don't have any electricity.
And that's how out of touch they are. Like I said, with everything being so expensive, it's the survival of the fittest on Rhoda. They live off the farming, the crops. I was eating deer the entire weekend. So, these people are basically, they're resourceful, and when I decided to shoot that video, I was basically saying, hey, we had a great dinner.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you, Rhoda. It was great. And somebody had messaged me right away and said, hey, where'd you get the Azuzu? And so I asked our vice chair, and he goes, it was frozen. He goes, this is, frozen. We cooked. I was like, okay. And then somebody had messaged back, and they were like, oh, well, or 2 or 3 people were like, maybe you shouldn't post that because, it's out of season. And I didn't think of it at the time, but I basically said, well, it's frozen. I was like, I'm not gonna delete this video. I was like, this is our child. Like, this is legit.
I want to show off.
Exactly. I wanted to show.
If I got that message, if I was in your position and I got a message, someone asking me where it came from, you know what would have been my response? And I don't care who they are. I pulled it out of my ass. I would have said that because I would have known where it's coming from.
It was just no, but these were people that were wondering where. And like I said, this all happened when I was in Rhoda, and I was not planning to delete the video because I said no, I want to show. And there's nothing criminal. There's no illegal activity here. So when the video had popped up,
you're not going there catching the crab and then getting a fat foot. Leche. Come on. You guys aren't the one with the fat feet.
So when the video popped
I'm
up
not kidding, Troy.
on the
Yeah,
Republican
I
Party's page, I was cracking up. I thought it was very petty. I was like, you guys are so desperate to divert the attention away from all the criminal activities that's happening within your party with your fearless leader. And the sad part about it is, my husband works for the law. If they think I'm that crazy to be able to post something illegal like that, they better think again. Go back to the drawing board, because we are not in the business to post videos or illegal activity and, to make a profit. If they think that we're a Rob Arrington, they are sorely mistaken. So, that was my whole spiel on that. I was like, it's not illegal. Nothing that we're doing was illegal. And my thing is people wanted me to retaliate. They wanted me to reply right away. It's just so petty. I was like, I don't answer to the Republican Party. I answer to the people. So that's my response to that.
Feel? I'm glad you brought up this point. As a citizen, not as the Democratic Party chairwoman or anything, just as a citizen of the CNMI, how does it make you feel when all of that illegal activity that is happening is just thrown in your face in pictures, videos, statements, audits,
and reimbursement
memos? It's just right there.
Yachts, boats.
And I was just explaining this to Johnny. I had not seen my mom in 3 months. It was my first trip back to Saipan with the pandemic, and literally it was nonstop. It was in your face. Like, this is what everybody was talking about. They were talking about the Northern Islands trip. I was there to see my family. My daughter was reunited with, her grandma, her cousins. So the trip was pleasant, but it was just exhausting to see that not only were things worse, but they were just way out of hand. Like, the Northern Islands trip was on so many levels. If I could put it into words, it was just anxiety. People are just so traumatized by the amount of corruption happening in the CNMI. And that's why this election is so important, because it's not just for Tinian or Rhoda. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. At the end of the day, everybody is suffering. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like it was traumatic. I was dealing with quarantine, trying to figure out, making sure that, me and my daughter had negative results and we weren't catching it from anybody. But at the same time, you have family members that have been, furloughed for months with no, source of income. So there's this depression, right? Everybody's depressed because they don't have money. And I was driving around and I was like, wow, I got to give Ralph credit. There is nobody on the road. And, my mom's like, nobody's on the road because nobody has money. Nobody has anywhere to go. So, I didn't think of it that way, but that was the sad reality of what's happening in the CNMI. It's traumatizing. It's depressing. It needs to stop, because at the end of the day, everybody loses. This is what's happening.
Well, there's elections, but there's also duty. And public auditor Michael Pye, am I saying his last name right?
Mike Pye.
Mike Pye did his duty, at least part of it, when for the first time in nearly 10 years, the OPA conducted a travel audit of the CNMI government. And unlike the previous one, which I believe the last one was of the Commonwealth ports, this one was a full government travel audit. And it must have taken quite some time and effort to do that, to pull together all those records and everything. But the audit, eventually confirmed is a story that several stories, as a matter of fact, that we did between December and I think the last travel story we might have done
The
was
first
like
class
in,
travel, I remember.
was like in March or April of this year.
Yeah.
Of first business and premium class travel conducted by the Tauruses, because it wasn't just Governor Ralph Taurus, it was also his wife, First Lady Diane Taurus. Whenever there was first class available, they took first class. Whenever it was only business class was at the top, it was business class. Not one of those travel documents that we reviewed did they travel economy. And so there were just scores of these tickets in both of their names, where the CNMI government had purchased these airline tickets in first or business class, which according to one CMC, I think it's 7407F, is the sixth portion of the governing statute on travel, right? It says that you cannot purchase airfare for anyone in the Commonwealth government on taxpayer funds that is premium class.
Just blatant abuse. That's exactly what that is.
In your face.
Well, and the sad part about it is, and they'll try to come to Diane's defense. At the end of the day, she is not a government employee.
That's the other thing that the law says.
She's not a government
and the regulations
employee.
is that so on Guam there's a provision in the travel law that says that the governor's spouse may accompany the governor. So the government of Guam may pay for the governor's spouse to travel. Okay, whatever, right? In the CNMI, there is no law like that says that. So the other question is, how is the CNMI government even paying for Diane Taurus's travel?
Well, when you're running the show and you put all the people in the right places, right? You got your Secretary of Finance that just rolls out the red carpet and signs off on anything and everything. But prior to him was Larissa Larson, who just fell off the face of the earth. Nobody knows where she is.
But it's illegal.
Exactly.
No matter how many people sign it, that just means all those people participated in illegal acts.
And that's the sad part about it. It's not just the blatant abuse of power. It's the illegal activities. Nobody is above the law. It's like, how can you teach? How can you set this type of example for not just your constituents, but for your employees? It's the morale. And going back to morale, because I was talking to Johnny about this earlier, the Northern Islands trip, most of the footage and the information that we got from that trip were from the employees. Employees that I was able to speak to while I was on island, who talked about how they felt like the trip was weird, when they rode out the jet skis and everything was kind of like this full-on party. It's their morale that I was thinking about, because they're the ones that have been subjected to this type of illegal activity. They have participated in this type of illegal activity. So like I said, it's anxiety, it's traumatic, because you've experienced it, it's bad, but at the same time, because you have the highest person, in office, telling you that it's okay, you're just stuck.
Actually, he said it's awesome.
You're stuck. And this is why, it's just so important for the people of the CNMI to step up in November.
Well, Eric and I were having a conversation today about
was this while I was sleeping?
On our drive, and we asked each other what the things that went on in the CNMI and the other news outlets, receiving the information and not doing anything about it. And he asked, do I think that we had a part in everybody now opening up and talking about, are we helping the CNMI? Is Kandit doing its job and helping the CNMI?
Kandit is definitely doing its job, and I've heard it and I've seen it from people in Rhoda. Our candidates love you guys because you're helping them, and that's the sad part, right? It shouldn't be just Senator Paul or Tina or Ed fighting for justice. It should be everybody. And I've lost so much respect for, because I'm not anti-Republican. There's a lot of good people doing a lot of bad things, and these are people I know. But the sad part about it is, not only is everybody in the CNMI watching, they're literally just watching all of this stuff happen and doing absolutely nothing about
But
it.
isn't there a fear factor? Isn't there a tremendous climate of fear in the CNMI?
I see it with government employees
Mm-hmm.
because of the political intimidation and retaliation. But I mean, if you guys all get together, form an alliance, and this is what leads me to believe that a lot of them are either opportunists, beneficiaries, or accomplices. They're literally an accomplice to the crimes committed against the people of the Commonwealth. That's the only way I see it. I was like, there's no way that the CNMI is burning with corruption and you're just going to sit by and watch while your families and your friends are furloughed. I mean, everybody's talking about it. There's just no way that you could sit around and not do anything. So it's scary.
Well, the CNMI legislature, the public auditor isn't the only one who's exercising duty. Now we wait for the Attorney General, Edwin Ranabusan, to exercise his duty because now there's an audit out.
Yep.
And so is the Attorney General going to prosecute?
We hope so.
We hope so, right? But the legislature also is, well, at least part of the legislature is doing its duty prior to the election, and it has stood up a couple of investigating committees, special committees meant to investigate the governor. One is on executive expenditures, the other is on federal expenditures throughout this whole COVID thing. And there was a very active discourse on the floor of the House today, or before one of the special committee's proceedings this morning, and it involves Congresswoman Tina Sablan and who's the head of Homeland Security over there?
Gerald de Leon.
Is it so? Let's play the clip so people can. This will actually be
I watched a little bit
the
of
first
it.
time that I'll be watching it
Okay.
because it was pretty busy today. But Eric did watch it and he cut this clip for us, and he's told me it's pretty riveting. So let's watch this together.
Following up on the chairman's questions regarding the MedFarm contract, Mr. De Leon Guerrero, you said that the vendor, MedFarm, required the governor's signature on that contract. Is that correct?
It was not a requirement, but he requested that we have the governor's name on this contract. I'm not sure why, but he came in.
And who from MedFarm requested that?
I believe I know it wasn't Joanne, but it was a request from MedFarm.
But who from MedFarm?
It could be the president. I'm not sure.
Who would know the answer to that?
The task force.
So was the governor involved in the negotiation with MedFarm?
I'm not sure. I could not say yes or no, but the vendor requested for the governor's signature below.
To ensure that the vendor would get paid?
Yes.
Did the governor have any communication?
Is that Gerald de Leon Guerrero, the guy that was answering the questions?
Yes.
I don't know if you guys noticed this. There's a very big problem with the answer that he just gave, and I don't know if. Let's talk about this. So the Med Farm that Tina Sablan is talking about is a company that's based on Guam, but it's also chartered in the CNMI, and it is a medical supplier.
My
and all
husband
that
raided
stuff.
their office. I know.
Yes. Okay. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay. So Tina Sablan is asking about this because a lot of money from direct aid government CARES Act funding went to MedFarm for the purchase of this,
Yes.
that, and the other thing, right? I think when Tina Sablan asked, was the governor involved in any of the negotiations, for Gerald de Leon Guerrero's answer to not have just been simply no, the governor was not involved, is a very big problem because why in the world would there be any doubt about the governor's involvement in the negotiation of contracts, especially sole source contracts, with the especially for millions of dollars? That there is a cloud on this matter says something very bad. Let's continue with the. I'm sorry. Is there?
No, go ahead.
But you guys noticed that, right? That his answer was wavering there. Can we continue on with the interview? I mean, with the footage.
Have any communications with you, or did you have any communications with any representative of the governor regarding any contracts with MedFarm?
Can you repeat the question?
Did you have any communications with the governor about this contract or any of the contracts with MedFarm?
Yes, I do.
Could you describe that?
Actually, it was it was me myself that I reached out to everybody, and this includes the governor, because at the time I was running 150 miles and trying to get all this requests for PPs and everything, and I seek the guidance of the task force, the governor, to help me out in, finding me a vendor.
Did the governor recommend that we reach out to MedFarm?
He didn't recommend, but he mentioned about MedFarm.
He did
But
mention
no,
MedFarm.
yeah, but no recommendation about going to MedFarm alone.
So the governor suggested reaching out to MedFarm, and that was it? Or were there other communications?
And that was it.
Did the governor suggest reaching out to International Royal?
I didn't talk to the governor regarding international aerobics. That was a conversation with the task force.
Thank you. Are you aware that a significant number of the contracts that were sole sourced for this COVID-19 response went to individuals or companies that donated to the governor's campaign?
I am not, ma'am.
So you were not aware that MedFarm was a contributor, International Royal was a contributor, Royal Yamaha, same owner, was a contributor,
I am not.
Eland was a contributor,
I am not.
Tan Holdings was a contributor. No, you were not
No.
aware. You mentioned that there is a 20% rejection rate by the Attorney General for some of these invoices, and that the reasoning is often because further justification is required. Is that correct?
That's all I gotta say about that.
Did you see him like squirming?
Dog couldn't Melania is what that
Did you
is.
see him squirming in his?
Yes, I saw him lying right there through his teeth.
I was getting mad when she started questioning him about his I think it was Ed Probst, when Ed Probst started questioning him about his illegal overtime and how he was given another title. I was just like, absolutely unacceptable. And I was commenting on the live feed because that's just it, right? It's like these people just don't get it. It was already deemed as illegal post YouTube. And then for them to do it again, and then for our governor to go on, on record, this is what's crazy about Ralph. He always, has this habit of going on record and lying. He lies all the time. So, and that's why I use that phrase,
Yeah, KOM likes them.
You
Likes them lies.
put both hands, on a Bible, put him under oath with two hands on a Bible, because he lies all the time.
How's he gonna do that when one hand's holding Cheetos?
No, but that's Lou. Lysol all the time.
Lysol all the time. They're friends, the only politician from Guam in the 2018 Torres Palacios election to have contributed to the Torres Palacios election was Lulian Guerrero. Do you know that?
Calvo or Castro?
Calvo wasn't running. Yeah. No, Castro received a gift that he didn't report to the Guam Election Commission from Ralph Torres. It's in the receipts, the reimbursement receipts. The people of the Commonwealth purchased him a $212 bottle of Johnny Walker Blue that Mr. Castro failed to report as a gift at the Guam Election Commission, and no one's done anything about it. Wow. Yeah, that's just insane. Yeah. Insane. So, this guy, Mr. DeLeon Guerrero, says, I did not know about, the contributions.
He didn't know a lot of
this
things.
Guam company and that Guam company. That, you know what?
He didn't know a lot of things. It's just so disappointing. It's like, well, what is it that you do know?
We
Gerald?
actually reported that I can see it in my head. The page of the Torres Palacios election contributions and expenditures report that shows all of these Guam companies, and it was like an entry of maybe 13 or 12. It's
she put it up. I saw it.
Oh, Tina Sablon put it up? Good, because it just shows right there. And these are donations of $1,500, $500. These are very large donations.
Definitely conflicts of interest. You know, he does not. It doesn't matter to him.
No, but we ran this story.
Yeah.
It's one of the first stories we did because we wanted to see the connections between Guam politics and Torres administration politics, and there seemed to be some very close connections. And when this CARES Act direct aid funding came out, we started to see, oh, well, this looks like a payoff to me. This looks like a connection to another Guam businessman to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's continue on with the footage.
Yes.
Does the Attorney General sometimes also reject invoices when quotes are obtained after the fact?
Please repeat the question.
Does the Attorney General reject invoices for items that were procured and then only after they were procured, quotes were obtained? Does he sometimes reject those invoices?
I don't recall on those kind of purchases.
But are you aware that sometimes purchases are made, procurements are completed, and then requests for quotes are directed to your staff to go out and get?
No, we don't do practice supply. If a service is provided prior to a payment, we just go ahead and do a contract and roll it out to the agent's office for his approval. A lot of, I will not say a lot, but some of them needed the services immediately, and we can't get a payment out right away.
Okay. So services are needed right away, and so then you would sole source that, right?
Correct.
But in some cases, your staff have been directed to go out and get quotes even after the services were provided, after the equipment was installed, after the goods were delivered, and then they're told to go out and get some quotes. Are you aware of that, sir?
Those are the, I guess, part of what the AG's rejections of this contract. So we go back and just follow or work with what the requirements from the AG.
Mm-hmm. And if the quotations show that the Commonwealth could have gotten a better price for this good or this service, does the AG reject those invoices for reimbursement?
He just doesn't sign on it. He will return it.
He will return it. So then what happens to that expense? Can we get reimbursed for that expense if the AG refuses to sign off on it and returns it?
What we'll do is go back and work on what the recommendation of the AG. But in terms of reimbursements, again, the GAR can really talk about that on what's allowable and what's not.
But sir, isn't it true? So if the AG refuses to sign off on an invoice, that we cannot submit that for reimbursement to FEMA. Is that correct?
I'll say it's not accurate because I know that we can work with the regular procurement process and submit for FEMA reimbursement.
So it would not become an expense of the state, of the Commonwealth, necessarily.
It is an expense from the state, and then we'll turn around and request for reimbursement from FEMA.
And you're saying the GAR could provide more insight on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Watch.
I am not a crook.
Promise. Promise.
Okay, I mean, we're having fun here with it, but this is actually not funny. This is
Some serious stuff.
Yeah.
There's some serious illegal activities that seems, like I said, seems to be a pattern. And the sad part about it is I'm still waiting for any Republican running for office to say something. It's like, do you condemn?
Well, actually, Congresswoman Janet Maratita did have her famous line from when she left church and she said on the floor of the House, "Equadesa the corrupted zoo."
Well, I heard she's running as an independent this year, so we'll
good for her.
We'll
Good
see.
for her.
We'll see, but like I said, at the end of the day, going back to Rhoda, just any of the candidates running for office in Rhoda, what do they have to say about the things that are happening in the CNMI? Because right now I only hear Senator Paul, calling out things for what they are. Donald Manglonia was recently advocating for hazardous pay. Why is it that Donald Manglonia is, advocating for hazardous pay while these cabinet members are, leeching and taking illegal overtime? Like, it's
in 2 jobs apparently worked at the same exact time.
I was losing it because I said, this is just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Is Mayor Ephraim Atalig up for re-election this year?
No, he's not.
Oh, okay.
So don't get me started with that one. That's a whole nother candidate.
So we've reviewed his federal case and it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
Well, and that's just it, right? So Dennis got off the hook. So Dennis is running for Senate. He's going to run up against Senator Paul for the Senate seat. My problem with Dennis is, he was an accomplice to the crimes that Ephraim Atalig was indicted for, or that group was indicted for. And I don't care if he paid restitution. It's like, you were an accomplice. You went on this trip to Guam knowingly. He knew that, the trip that they were going on was not, for, political purposes or whatever. So my thing is for him to run for Senate, says a lot. It's like, you got some serious balls to be running for Senate after this, this case hasn't even wrapped up yet. So,
it's audacity, probably more what it is.
Well, and he
paid restitution?
He paid restitution and the AG basically dropped I guess he cooperated with the feds. And so they ended up dropping the charges. But, that's history. He does not get a slap on the wrist. He does not get a pass. And that's the problem, right? This is where I say, in Rhoda, things are just so sensitive where it's like, vote for me because I'm your family. He comes, he hangs out with Victor Holkog and a lot of, Ephraim Atalig, this is their group, right? But my problem is if you can go house to house and lie to people, what does that say to you as a legislator? So that was my thing. It's like, I don't see them doing anything right now. They're not calling out this administration for the crimes that they're committing on a daily basis. They're not doing anything, but they have the audacity to ask for votes.
Well, Ed Probst, I love Ed Probst's lives. Sometimes I'm already sleeping though, but when he goes live, like Johnny was telling me about the one from last night, and I was like, oh, I need to watch that because he got kind of lively,
I was watching it for a little bit, and I was just like, am I dreaming? Because it was late. He's been doing.
He could only go on for 5 minutes. His wife was like, hey, our anniversary, you're only allowed to go on. So she was in the background like, okay, done.
Hey, happy anniversary to the Probsts.
Yes. I love
like 23 years or something.
And that's important. And it's election season, right? So you would think that these Republicans would be coming out and talking about, what it is that they're going to be doing or what it is that they're going to be fighting for. Zero, nothing, nada. Which tells me that it's either old names, new names, same game, more corruption. That's exactly what I'm going to call it. More corruption. They're just going to roll out the red carpet.
So who are the Democratic candidates from Rhoda and Tinian?
So for Rhoda, like I said, it's Senator Paul is up for re-election, and then the incumbent, Donald Manglonia, is going to be running again. For Tinian, so you guys haven't met Jose Cruz. Jose Cruz is another fighter on Tinian. He's very well known to fight for the people on Tinian, which is he's perfect. He's just the kind of person we need, right? Because, when I see stuff with Senator Jude Hofschneider just recently, slashing the casino commissioners' salaries from 75 to 55, it's like, wait, well, why do they have salaries in the first place? There is no casino on Tinian.
Yeah.
It's a slap in the face to the people of Tinian. And the sad part about it is the former mayor, Ramon de la Cruz, is one of the casino commissioners on Tinian. He was also given $250,000 from the Community Benefit Fund, was it in 2018 or last year, to form a cattle business.
Oh, that's his. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not only is he receiving a salary as a casino commissioner, but he pocketed $250,000 for this cattle business that does not exist.
Oh, really?
Where is it? We haven't seen. I was just in Tinian. I didn't see any cattle business going on over there. So that makes me very angry because, Tinian and Rhoda short under the stick. There is no Rhoda casino. There is no Tinian casino. Why do they continue to pay these casino commissioners? And so I'm glad that Jose is there because
he's running for the Senate seat.
He's running for the Senate seat.
Whose Senate seat is up?
Frank Borja Sr. from the Republicans, and he's not running again.
He's not running, okay.
So, and then we have another guy running for House, Frederick de la Cruz, who I wasn't able to meet when I was in Tinian, but I met him later because he was on Saipan because his wife was giving birth.
Oh, congratulations.
Just great. But I got to meet him at the candidate orientation because, we kind of got them all together. This guy just had a baby. Just very passionate. Like, he was getting really emotional because he's seen, the intimidation and the complacency on Tinian. And like I said, I got to go there and I got to listen to the people and how they talked about the constant abuse, government vehicles being used 24 hours a day, just these little things. And did you know that gas is $5.42 on Tinian?
Lord.
I was like, wow. So, while our governor is enjoying this vacation in the Northern Islands, here I am on Tinian and Rhoda saying, why are we not promoting economic opportunities on Tinian and Rhoda?
You said that the port in Rhoda is inoperable?
Inoperable.
So there is a port.
There is a port.
Why is it inoperable?
Something to do with the owners of the port, from what I was told.
So the government does not own the port?
The government does not own the port. It has something to... Senator Paul would know more. So Senator Paul, if you're listening, but I know...
He's watching.
Yeah,
Senator
I
Paul
know it has
watching.
something to do... There's a private owners of the port, and there's just never been... Nobody's ever been able to go in there to repair it. There's all these issues, but that's just it. That this should be mandatory. This is like... Yeah, well, not only that, but it's the due diligence to the people of Rhoda. They should not be subjected to the high
costs. There's like millions and $billions in grants.
High costs of living.
I would think so.
Imagine, being able to do the people of Rhoda a favor and just minimize their cost of living because everything is so expensive. But at the end of the day, I have so much respect for them because...
Jacob Nakamura is asking that you please stop saying at the end of the day. It's a term that's banned on Kandit.
Oh.
Because a SeaWorld actress is known to use it all the time.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Jacob. I hear you, Jacob. Sorry. So my thing is the lack of economic opportunities. It's the due diligence to Rhoda. It's just the cost of living, and they're so nice about it. They don't complain about it. They're not, screaming to the government. They're dealing with it, and I was just shocked beyond disbelief. And I humbled myself real quick, because I said, this is absolutely crazy. I cannot believe our governor is out trying to promote the Northern Islands when he should be promoting Tinian and Rhoda. He should be here.
I have an aunt who for decades lived and died in Rhoda, and Tichong Manglotnia.
Oh, wow.
My grandpa's immediately older sister. I think they're only 1 year apart. I don't know what her real name is, and Tichong.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe Conchita.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband died before her. She died a few years ago. Anyway, I just always knew Auntie Chong's from Rhoda.
Wow.
She lived in Rhoda. So all her kids and grandkids. Jacob says, Mayor Ephraim Mutalig is otherwise indisposed, and his girlfriend and his staff. Lots of sealed records. Lots of sealed documents, and that adds to the case. And then of Victor Hukug, Jacob does a lot of research.
Mm-hmm,
Jacob says, the Hukug of Florida with the big boat.
Yep.
Do you know what we're talking
Yes,
about?
I do.
Jacob says, I don't know who needs to hear this, but IPI is tanking. They can't pay any bills. one of the construction companies that sued them already took all their fancy cars. In the Wang lawsuit, the court granted default win to the plaintiff because IPI is just ignoring everything and every payment. They can't even make a $2,000 payment. They have probably packed up already and left. I suspect the reburial of the remains is the government working in cahoots with IPI to delay construction, giving them more time to pack up and leave. IPI can't even pay their lawyers defending them in all their lawsuits.
Very disrespectful. Just absolutely disrespectful. And then to go into the newspaper after being deemed a criminal enterprise to ask for another amendment, so that they don't have to pay what they already owe.
Oh, Senator Paul Manglone is all over that. He is all over that.
These are the conversations, these are the arguments that I have, with my husband, because I lose it. And, he's been nice enough to just listen, but and so imagine me, right? But you have all these other people, all the employees, everybody that worked for that casino. Well, and it's not just that, it's the pattern of abuse. These are the traumatizing effects. These are the detrimental effects that this administration has left on its people, because there were tons of local employees that worked for the casino and saw this abuse firsthand. What do these Republicans have to say to those employees? This is the type of example. They're just going to allow these people to come in here and disrespect our laws and disrespect our people, and they just have nothing to say about it. They're just going to roll out the red carpet. And this is why it's so important for people to vote for necessary change in 2020. It has to happen. Absolutely.
So as I'm hearing this from you about the issues in the CNMI government, what I do remember is that there have been a lot of Republican governors of the CNMI and a lot of Republican legislatures, and some of them are no longer Republicans, and some of them or a lot of them who still call themselves Republicans don't necessarily respect or agree with the things that Ralph Torres has been doing. So maybe the label isn't necessarily that this was a Republican corruption of the CNMI, but it really sounds like Governor Ralph Torres, his brothers, and the cronies around him have sort of built their own political mafia.
Built their empire.
Off the
taxpayers.
Their mafia off of the taxpayers, and using a Republican label. I wonder what older generation Republicans, of the likes of, the late Governor Eloy Enos or Pedro Tenorio, what they would think of how Governor Ralph Torres has
and Jose Cruz from Tinian, our guy from Tinian, had an interesting story to say about that, because he comes from a strong Republican family. He goes, my my family, they're all Republicans, but with everything that has gone on, there's just no way that we can fall under that banner.
Under the Torres Palacios banner.
Well, I think it's just the Republican banner in general, because it's
all of them now.
It's all of them now.
The ones who are in leadership.
Yeah, it's just, zero patience for your complacence. Everybody is just so complacent, and I just, it's so hard to understand. It's like, CNMI, I've said this before, we'll say is boiling with corruption. How can you just sit by and watch? But at the same time, how is it that you have the audacity to ask for votes, and you say that you're fighting for something, but we've seen nothing? Just austerity and furlough should never be an option. How did we get to this?
It's their easy way out.
Austerity and furlough should have never been an option.
They're just collateral damage.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I feel. I feel like we're literally just collateral damage, because they keep doing it. They keep on doing it. They keep hiring people. There's questionable pay increases after you just furloughed a ton of employees. Even my mom was like, I don't think he cares. I literally just don't think he cares anymore.
He's like, this is awesome, Cello. Let's ride this storm out. Let's take it all the way down.
It's just wild.
I really need to pee now, so we're going to have to end this show. But before ending the show, I have to ask. So I'm a registered Democrat. I registered as a Democrat just in 2018, to spite Eddie Calvo. And
You would. You would.
but okay, national elections.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not well versed in everything that's going on with the national elections, but I isn't Joe Biden a little like cray?
Can we just focus on the local elections? Do we have to go there?
Humor me.
Do we have to go there?
I mean, he's going a little senile, right?
Hey, United for Biden, okay? That's what we're doing. United for Biden. Anyone but Trump. I'm sorry.
But is he a little crazy? Like,
I don't think so. I think he's getting older.
Does
You
he?
know, he loses his chain of thought every now and then.
Kanye.
But
how about Kanye West?
I'm sorry, but Biden is a way better ticket than Trump. I just, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion.
Who do you
With
think's
all
gonna
the
win?
chaos.
These are the people we are left with to get us. We are left with Tina Munya Barnes. We are left with
She
Leon
pulled a quick
Guerrero
one. She's like, let me just
administration.
divert.
We are left with Governor Ralph Torres. We are left. These are the people. Do we have anybody better? Anybody?
Here we go. Here we go.
Because it's getting ugly.
But I can say that we have 9 amazing women running for office in the CNMI under the Democratic Party. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Tinian because, like I said, Jose Cruz is a fighter. Fred just had a baby, very passionate. And, they're not going to sit around and watch the CNMI burn, which is literally what's happening in the CNMI. And their Tinian opposition has nothing to say about it. There's stuff happening on Tinian, with the COVID procurement contracts. I know that the Carl Neighbors running for Senate is the COVID rep on Tinian. What does he have to say about these questionable procurement contracts? What do they have to say about anything that's going on? The same with Rhoda. What do they have to say about, the arson or the fire that was happening in Pagan, the illegal poaching, the fishing in the Marine Monument, just all these different things that are happening. And the Republicans want to talk about, the Democrats boiling coconut crab. Really? Like, there's a lot of other issues that you should be focusing on. And, this is nothing compared to the illegal activities that were happening in the Northern Islands. Not only was what we were doing not illegal, but everything that was happening in the Northern Islands the Northern Islands was illegal, paid by the taxpayers. What do they have to say about that? So to give this guy a resolution, just slap in the face. And it's just the
he
pattern.
Can hang it on his foot.
The pattern. Pattern.
Is your feet fat? Huh? Is your feet fat?
Before we go, can you help set us up with virtual interviews with the Democratic candidates?
Most definitely. So we're going to be making our announcements soon. You'll get the invite. It's definitely under tight lip. We're working on a lot of stuff, but like I said, it's going to be a very, very exciting.
I'm very excited to know who your Senate candidate is in Saipan.
Oh yeah. So we got a lot of there's a lot of good energy. I think it's the timing is perfect because there's so much negative energy on Saipan with everything that's going on. I think the people would be proud of the candidates that we're going to put forward, but at the same time, I think they would be reassured to know that there's actual candidates with substance that are going to fight for them. They're actually going to fight for them. And it's not just going to be Tina and Ed, it's going to be Tina, Ed, Sheila, Richard, and everybody else, So I'm really proud of the group. We've been working hard. I'm pregnant, patient, and I'm just going to grind all the way into November because it's not about me. It's about we. And we just need to step up and take back our government. We really need to.
It's not about me. It's
not about me. It's about we. You need to social distance yourself from corruption because that's the real virus in the CNMI, just so you know.
You want to do your shout out to your girl, Regine?
Oh, Regine Lee?
Senator Regine Lee.
I love
is Nola's good friend.
Yeah, I love Senator Regine Lee. I'm really sad that she's not going to be running for office this year. I understand. I'm not even running for office, and it's a lot. So I understand a little bit of what she's going through, but everybody else that's running for office, just taking that step. You know, I gotta give everybody credit, because if I was not in this position that I am now, I'd be running for office in the CNMI, most definitely. I was actually thinking to run pregnant. I was just gonna do it. But, you know, with the commute and just a newborn, I believe that my stars are not aligned. I feel like my greater purpose is to make sure that I take these people over the finish line. And win or lose, they're all winners for taking that step. But at the same time, we want to win. We definitely want to win. And there's no doubt that, you know, we're not going to do everything that we can to win. It's just, like I said, eliminating this culture. it's the culture. The culture needs to end. So
The political culture.
The political culture. And you know, I said it with the flyer that I had talked to you about, where, you know, the Torres administration literally published a flyer, a campaign flyer.
I'm so sorry.
That I think
Sorry.
Cat hair.
They published that flyer that said zero deficit. Remember? Zero deficit. They took this flyer, went door to door, published it, you know, on paper, and lied to voters about the deficit, to where their Secretary of Finance dropped the real deficit on, you know, December 31st, 2018, where we were 25 million in the hole.
Well, they'll say it's because they didn't receive the audit until after the election. That's what they'll say. That's a
bunch of crap. So, yeah, I just want to remind the voters out there to pay attention. It's, you know, this is the election of our lives. We're really just
ready for change.
Ready to move forward.
Get those wheels turning.
Yeah, and you guys have seen it. You guys have witnessed firsthand the crimes that are being committed against the people of the Commonwealth. So hopefully we will all see justice soon, and not just at the polls in November.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it was wonderful.
Yee, cheers.
What did you
There
get?
goes my glucose test.
What do you have?
Fired. What is this?
Sprite.
Sprite. Thank you, sponsor.
Oh my God, you guys don't have a Circle K and
No, we don't.
You guys need to have, because these Polar Pops, especially at night, you know, when I'm trying to like wind down, and like all the ice, you know,
The water ice.
watered ice.
And see, so these are all the things we take for granted, right? You know, the McDonald's. You don't have this on Rhode Antinian. That's a luxury for them, having McDonald's. You know, when somebody
No,
brings
what's a luxury is what Ralph Torres has purchased at the expense of taxpayers. That is a luxury.
Don't get me started.
That's where there are luxuries in the CNMI. Ralph Torres just takes them.
He eats it all.
And you know who pays for them are the citizens of the CNMI. It's just the saddest thing.
And my mom got upset my last interview. She's like, you know, thieves is such a strong word, Nola.
That's what they are.
Why are you calling? And I'm like, Mom, they're thieves.
They're worse than the ones who are picked up by the police, because they take more money.
They just
Way more.
That's the sad part. They take. When is it ever going to be enough? You know,
Never. It's never enough.
Take.
Never enough.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
For Candid News, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny.
And I'm Nola.
Good night.
Good night.